Hey, I had this idea last night, which is always the greatest time to have ideas, and I was gonna film it, but then my memory card was in the other room, and I couldn't be bothered to change it and go grab it, so, we are here now, and I will talk about the thing I wanted to ramble about. So, welcome to another installment of Bookish Rambles. So we've been watching Star Trek Enterprise, because my sister hasn't seen it, and she wants to do a Star Trek marathon with us. Which is great, because Star Trek. And so we're watching Enterprise, and we're watching it and we're wondering, why did it get cancelled? And I come to this realization later on, I think I know why. I think it was cancelled because it kept delving into time theories and time travel that wasn't good. So as I'm thinking and talking about this to myself, I come up with an idea. I want to talk to you guys about time theories and the appeal of a paradox and stuff. I love time theories. I love the concept of time travel and paradoxes and all that stuff. I'm not a physicist of any form. I have no degree that will give me any sort of credibility. I just really like this thing. So, time theories are great because you can use them in science fiction a lot to explain someone ending up in a different time and things like that. They also encompass the idea of like a multiverse and stuff, but that's a different one. That's multiverse theories, and we're going to talk about time theories today. This video is not going to be edited, so I'm sorry for how awkward it's going to be. More often than not, you see time theories used in film, but they're not always perfectly executed, if I may say. Doctor Who is a such piece of media that understands how time theories work and has had decades to perfect how they implement this. And in times, they also write their own time travel theories and things. So Doctor Who is a good starting point if you want a good time travel, time theory based thing, because it's good. Some things where time theory and stuff doesn't fit would be the Star Trek universe. And for that, this is going to be me being really harsh to a series that I adore. So, yeah, be warned. But with Star Trek, because it's set in such a futuristic time, it already kind of has its own little time travel thing, because it's set in such a drastically future time. So to me, unless you're in the holodeck, essentially it's like a virtual reality, but it's an entire room. Unless you're in the holodeck where you've imagined the time period, say you're acting out the Three Musketeers or something, time travel doesn't make sense outside of that holodeck environment, because you've set up the holodeck to be like, this is a virtual simulation place, this is where you can make holograms come up and things. And so obviously they'd be from a different time. They'd have all the information of that time from literature and things. And so you can do that. Outside of that environment, time travel gets a little messy in the Star Trek universe. And this has been a thing that has been annoying me for most of this watch through of Enterprise. There is so much time travel in Star Trek Enterprise that crosses so many moral borders and things that just I get so annoyed watching this series, and I have to like restrain myself so that I'm not completely destroying my sister's viewing experience. Hi Becky, I love you. But yet time travel does not work in Enterprise. It should never have been implemented in Enterprise. This is probably why Enterprise got cancelled. Just like the concept of the temporal war and stuff. It's interesting, but then also there's like the big moral quandary of why are you getting someone from the past involved in your temporal Cold War? And then there's also the whole, this crewman got killed and now he keeps showing up again because he's a time agent. So you just have to suspend your disbelief and assume that the times he's coming to visit Archer are him from the past. Hold on. This is where it gets confusing, like I said. The character that is the time agent, his name is Daniels. Let's cover that. And he gets killed in the first season. One of the first episodes of the first season. But then he keeps showing up and dragging the captain into the future to warn him about things. And so you have to try to come up with this reasoning that like, okay, so maybe it's a version of him before he got killed, before he decided to go undercover on Enterprise in the 22nd century. Which is okay, I guess. Until we start implementing the fact that Daniels apparently knows he's gonna die in the present, and also has put himself in several life-threatening situations that if he didn't get out of them would cause a huge paradox. So, like I said, it doesn't work in Star Trek because essentially the writers are creating their own paradoxes, which I love a good paradox, but I don't love when the paradox doesn't work. It doesn't work in Star Trek. Another one where it would work would be Outlander. The Outlander series is a good one. She goes back to the 1700s and basically lives out her life there, and in her trying to fix certain things, she has saved some people's lives, but history still continues. So she's tweaking the smallest little things. Red Dwarf did a good episode on time travel. Red Dwarf in itself is kind of a time travel one as well, because they wake up like 3,000 years into the future, and then by the time they get back to Earth, it's like back to the past and stuff. Time travel is a weird thing in Red Dwarf, but a really good episode is in season 6, I believe. It's called Ouroboros, and it's one that kind of implements what I like to call the Ouroboros effect. Because we find out a bit about one of the characters in Red Dwarf, Lister. We find out that we find out about his past, his background, how he came to be essentially. And the thing that makes the paradox happen is he figures out that he's the one who's supposed to go back in time to put the baby version of him under a pool table at a bar where he's going to be found. But then how does the baby come to be, right? Well, he gets DNA from his girlfriend who was from an alternate timeline, and they create a baby like that, and then he brings that baby back to the past. And the reason I call it an Ouroboros effect is now you start to think like chicken or egg. Like, what came first? Was Lister found at that pool table because him from the future brought him back, or was he just like that? Where did it start? So that's the Ouroboros thing. Loki kind of did the same thing in season 2. Loki season 2 is just full of time theories and paradoxes and had me gushing every episode I watched. But there's a little Ouroboros effect in Loki as well. You've got your mechanic engineer guy, OB, who has a book on the Time Variance Authority, and it's like the handbook, and he's read through it and things, and he's added notes and stuff. And then you've got the guy from the 1800s, I don't remember his name, who figured out how the Time Variance Agency works by reading OB's manual. And he then was able to use OB's directions and stuff and notes to perfect the manual, and so then you start to wonder about who was influenced by who, sort of thing. The Ouroboros effect is amazing and I love it. Another time travel thing that also works is a butterfly effect idea. So it's not that one where like you go back in time and you step on a butterfly and then it destroys the world. That's not quite it. The best way I can describe it is from the Doctor Who Series 4 episode Turn Left, when some people sent Donna back in time in her memory and got her to change the direction that she would turn in her car, which led to her ending up not going for the specific temp job, so then she didn't end up going to marry this guy, which meant that the Doctor never found out about this specific alien race that was going to destroy the Earth, and he ended up dying, and then everything kind of like snowballed into catastrophe. That is a butterfly effect, because you find out that Donna is a very important piece in the writing of the history, and because she didn't make that one decision, everything went wrong. So that's the best way I can think of a butterfly effect. I swear there's another one and I can't think of it. I know that physicists actually worked out that what they did in Avengers Endgame is possible. You can go back in time, take certain things, bring them forward in time, and as long as you return them back to the exact time that you took them, it doesn't mess with the timeline at all. Which is really cool. I like that. It's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing that could happen. I was very excited when I read that in the article. But there's another sort of problem with time travel. This is where morality starts to take effect, and morals and stuff. But say, for example, you've gone back in time to fix something. Something's gone wrong. Artemis Fowl went back in time to get a certain creature so that he can use that creature's spinal fluid to save his mother. I'm using a book reference because I can't think of a good one at the moment. Because Artemis went back to get that lemur, someone followed him and realized what he was trying to do, and so then went and hurt his mother from the past so that she would get sick, so that Artemis could go back. So that that's another Ouroboros thing where it just suddenly gets tangled up and so interwoven that you don't know what caused what anymore. Then there's one that happened in Star Trek Enterprise that made me incredibly upset, which was they got stuck in, it's essentially a nebula. They call it the Delphic Expanse. And they come across another version of their ship. And it turns out that ship has been there for, it goes 200 years? Because they tried to destroy something and ended up getting sent back into the past. And so their goal was to stay in the Expanse and stop the event from happening that got them back in the past. So our Enterprise, the present day one, meets up with future Enterprise, and they meet the crew, who are generations after generations after generations of our crew. And one of the big things that annoyed me the most was their commanding officer is Trip and T'Pol's son. And he starts telling Trip all this stuff about, like, how things happen in the future. Telling Trip, like, oh, you're gonna marry T'Pol and things. And so then Trip goes to T'Pol and starts talking to her and being like, you know, we're gonna get married, so we have to talk about certain things. And it upsets me because there's the morality debate there of, did this thing happen naturally or did it happen because I found out it was going to? And it kind of unravels the red string of fate idea, because you found out what's going to happen in your future, and because that's happened, you really want to make that work because you like how that sounded. So you spend the rest of your life getting that to work, and it leaves you, the audience, wondering, was that supposed to happen or not? So that one is the one that annoyed me. That's the one that essentially got me started on this whole ramble, was the moral quandaries involved with time travel in media. We were watching the original Planet of the Apes series from like 1968, the 5-movie series with the makeup that is great. And that one's got time travel in it too. Some sort of subspace field that sends the crew from 1972 all the way forward in time to like 3900 something, where the world is ruled by apes. And there's time travel in there. In the third movie, 2 of the apes go back in time, end up in 1973, and they do a thing where one of them tells the humans that in the future apes are going to rule the world because there'll be a plague that wipes out all the animals except the apes, and so humans need a companion, so they make apes their pets, and then they became slaves, and then eventually one day an ape said no. Started a big war and everyone got wiped out, and the first species to properly evolve this time were the apes. And so the president's doctor decides we need to kill these 2 apes that are really intelligent and their baby, because they're gonna destroy everything. If we let them live, they'll make this whole thing happen, generation after generation. Eventually one of them will become that ape that says no. And so you got this moral issue and debate of, they haven't done anything. If you kill someone innocent before they get the chance to become guilty, is it murder? Is it justifiable? A good example of that would be if you went back in time and shot Hitler's mother. She's innocent, and Hitler's not even around yet. He hasn't been born yet. Does that make it right in light of everything you learned about World War II? Alternatively, you go back in time and you shoot Hitler before he gets to become Führer. Is that right? And there are many different ways that you can justify the answer being yes. But a lot of the ways are, the answer is no. Simply because he hasn't been bad yet. He hasn't had the chance to do the crimes that you want to kill him for. Until he does the crimes, he's not guilty. So, unfortunately, yes, what happened in World War II had to have happened, and time travel won't fix that. Because instead of that, you may cause a butterfly effect and a ripple effect that makes everything go worse, you know? So, yeah, that's just, yeah. But in the case of Planet of the Apes, after finding that out, they do attempt to go and kill the apes, and they succeed, kind of. They didn't kill the baby. And so you come to the next movie, where it's about 18 years later, and apes are being used as slaves. They're being auctioned off, and they're used as slaves and things. And yeah, animals have been wiped out because a pathogen from the space shuttle that came from the future carried with it a virus that destroyed all domesticated animals, like so your pets, so your cats and your dogs and your hamsters and all that. So people need a pet, and so they go for an ape. And it makes you think, because yeah, they're conditioning the apes and they're selling them, which is interesting, and you get to the end of the movie and the apes have revolted and they're wanting to take over. Which brings forth the thought that in attempting to stop the apes from being the better species, the humans ended up accelerating these events that Cornelius from the future told them would happen. So it leaves you to wonder what the benefit of that was. Time theories are great. Time travel is awesome. Paradoxes are fun to handle. When used properly, they have the greatest effects. The greatest. The best. I might just be biased. Honestly, might be biased. But to me, they are some of the greatest things I've ever been able to consume. I love a good time travel trope and a good paradox, and being able to gush about the specific paradoxes and explaining them to my sister in a way that ensures that I understand it so that I can make it simpler so she can understand it is really fun. And I think it's one of my autism traits to just be so fascinated with time theories. I love it. Temporal stuff. If there is a specific word, like a proper term for time theories, please let me know in the comments. For now, I think I'm gonna leave you alone and stop rambling because this video is 25 minutes long, so I should probably stop rambling. but that is what these sorts of videos are for. Rambling about stuff. Let me know if you want me to do a ramble on multiverse theories and stuff. Let me know what you want me to ramble about. I really like rambling. I don't get to ramble a lot, so I really enjoy doing it. Next week's video, I will probably end up introducing you to a new member of the family, so that'll be fun. And I do want to get to work on that Sunset Boulevard review and analysis so that I can get that up, because I want to ramble about Sunset Boulevard. So yeah, subscribe if you liked this, if you want to see more random rambles of me. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Bye!